You remember your first day at a new school. You remember an embarrassing moment from age 9. You might even remember a birthday cake with the wrong number of candles. But you cannot remember being a baby. Not a single second of it. And the real answer for why is far stranger than you ever assumed. Your brain was not broken back then. It was actually working incredibly hard. A newborn brain builds nearly 1 million new neural connections every single second. So the hardware was running. The recording was happening. Why is the footage gone? This is called childhood amnesia. Scientists also call it infantile amnesia. And for a long time, the explanation seemed obvious. Babies have simple brains. Simple brains make weak memories. Case closed. Except that explanation is completely wrong. Researchers have shown that babies as young as 6 months can remember specific events for weeks at a time. Psychologist Carolyn Rovee-Collier spent decades at Rutgers University running elegant experiments where infants learned to kick their legs to make a mobile move. Then she came back days later, weeks later. The babies remembered. They kicked immediately. The memory was real and it was durable. So babies can form memories. Those memories just vanish before you ever get a chance to hold on to them as an adult. Why? The answer starts in a tiny curved structure deep in your brain called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the brain's memory gateway. Nothing becomes a long-term autobiographical memory without passing through it first. And in infants, the hippocampus is radically underdeveloped. Here is the strange part. The hippocampus is not finished building itself until you are roughly 7 or 8 years old. New neurons are still being born in that region throughout early childhood, a process called neurogenesis. And here is where it turns counterintuitive. Paul Frankland and Sheena Josselyn at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto discovered something that sounds like a paradox. The very act of growing new neurons actually destroys old memories. Let that land. Your brain was growing so fast that it was overwriting itself constantly. New neurons plugging into existing memory circuits destabilize what was already stored there. The more your hippocampus grew, the more it erased. You were not failing to record. You were recording over the tape. Think about what that means. The fastest period of brain growth in your entire life happened to be the same period you can never remember. That is not a coincidence. That is a mechanism. But neurogenesis is only part of the story. There is another layer, and it lives in language. To tell yourself a memory, you need words, not just to share it with someone else, to store it in the first place. Research by psychologist Katherine Nelson at the City University of New York showed that autobiographical memory, the kind where you are the character in your own mental story, requires a narrative structure. You need a before and an after, a cause and an effect, a self who experiences the event. Babies do not have that yet. They experience everything intensely: fear, warmth, hunger, joy. But they cannot yet organize those experiences into a story with them at the center. Without that narrative framework, the memory has nowhere to attach. It floats, and then it dissolves. This is why the age of your earliest memory tends to shift depending on the language you speak. Children who grow up in cultures with strong oral storytelling traditions, where parents frequently narrate and revisit shared experiences with their children, develop earlier and richer autobiographical memories. The memory is partly a social construction. Your parents were teaching you how to remember by telling you what happened. Does that feel strange? It should. It means your memory is not purely your own. Around age 2, something begins to shift. Language accelerates, the hippocampus matures just enough. A child starts to develop what psychologists call a sense of self. And crucially, that sense of self is required before personal memory can stick. Because if there is no you yet, there is no one for the memory to belong to. This self-concept does not appear all at once. It builds slowly. The classic test for this is the mirror test. Put a dot of red paint on a toddler's nose, then show them a mirror. Before about 18 months, they just see another baby. After 18 months, they reach up and touch their own nose. They recognize that the reflection is them. A self has arrived. And right around that age, autobiographical memory begins to form more durably. It is not perfect, it is fragmented, but it starts to hold.